Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Roundup. We've covered some of this week's books, a little bit of Marvel, a little bit of DC. Now it's time to move on to the rest. Kicking things off, we've got Sins of Sinister, number 1. Kicking off the latest story point in the Krakoan Age. Over the last year or so, we've had some revelations. Dr. Stasis, a high-ranking member of Orcus, was revealed to be apparently a Mr. Sinister clone, though he claims he's the original. Orbis Stellaris, a intergalactic arms dealer, was also revealed to be Nathaniel Essex. And it was also revealed in the beginning of Immortal X-Men that Sinister has clones of Moira McTaggart with an active X gene, and he uses them as, basically using them as save points. Perhaps a scheme of his has failed. Well, okay. Upload to a certain memories. From that point forward, and then kill the clone, and then get the memories from the clone. And he's been doing this a bit, and he opted to take out the psychics of the Quiet Council and put everything into motion. However, turns out that somehow Sinister was able to make some sort of hide his own gene code or whatever, and at the very least, Xavier's. And Sinister was also sentenced to the pit. So we begin the recreation of the first scene from House of X number 1, only instead of it being Xavier welcoming hatching what would, if I remember correctly from that, was hatching versions of the original 5. It's Sinister greeting newly hatched versions of Cyclops, saying, "To me, my me's." So, the big revelation from last issue of Immortal X-Men: Xavier's got a red diamond on his forehead now. As does Emma, and Hope, and Exodus. They put on various shows for, but one thing that gets brought up in the council is expanding resurrection protocols for everyone, for all humans, not just some. But we're about 10 years later. Ben Urich goes to visit J. Jonah Jameson, explaining that there's an X gene. There's basically a treatment that one can get in the future, making resurrection a little easier. It's not a fully fully blown X gene, but like a partial X gene, I guess. And but Ben goes to tell Jameson. But Jameson, well, he's already been taken. He's already he knows, and because he got the gene treatment. Then Hope, Exodus, and Emma and Xavier enlist Forge's aid in creating an orbital weapon, which they then use to attack Krakoa, or to kill Krakoa, the island. And Wolverine stabs Cypher, killing him. This leads to an assault on Orca's Forge. Led by the combined forces of the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and the X-Men. And Cyclops basically declares, tells Cap, as of right now, basically we're all X-Men. You're all X-Men. Or you're all honorary X-Men. And Captain America gets talked into getting the gene treatment. After all, Captain America, mutant. Be a hell of a statement. And basically, the assault on Krakoa basically has left Krakoa functionally speaking, in a vegetative state. But Sinister is released from the pit. Goes over what he was able to do, all the things he was able to do. Basically, he's been mucking. Kind of goes over his entire plan. He was able to get he put basically samples of his own DNA into every DNA sample from his database. So therefore, everyone can be turned into, well, another one of him. The hard part, of course, is Storm, because she got rid of her backup. Then we find out that later on, Thanos is killed by Krakoa as another Thanos extinction event is seen to be on the table. Thanos is killed by basically a shrunken down Juggernaut being fired. But there's some temporal shenanigans with it, which leads to Thanos' brain being splattered over multiple timelines. Doom is killed by Namor. Basically, Doom tries to get Namor to tries to form an alliance between Latveria and Atlantis against Krakoa. Defensive alliance, just in case, because it seems like the mutants are up to something. However, Namor's already been turned and kills Doom. There's still a Doombot running around with the remains of Orcus. The Eternals were wiped out by the Iraqi. Ben Grimm is turned against the remaining members of the Fantastic Four. The Avengers are taken down by the X-Men. Kurt has apparently devolved into a more bestial creature, which Storm calls out. But it turns out that Storm had a feeling that thought that perhaps some kind of safeguard needed to be put in place, and so but she has a post-hypnotic code phrase that is able to prevent her from being re-educated, so to speak, by the Sinister, Xavier, and Sinister versions of Xavier and Emma. Upon leaving, she finds the two missing members of the Council. Long missing at this point. Mystique and Destiny. Basically stating that they have to be, if they're going to survive all this, they have to be on the same side. But Shaw puts the hell in hellfire, taking over one of the hells and basically giving some some additional sway in existence. Magic obliterates Asgard as Thor is pulled away after the Avengers' duplicity was revealed, and yeah. No more Wanda, just in case. And then the first chimeras are made. Just kind of simple. Combine two genomes into one, combine two power sets into one. For example, it appears as a Cyclops Wolverine chimera, a Beast Colossus. Looks like perhaps Sunfire and Rockslide, and maybe I would guess either, I think, Kitty and Angel. There is of course resistance, namely to Storm, and every attempt at taking her out fails. But Mars Morocco is eventually destroyed. It seems like among those on her side and uncorrupted is Thunderbird, but she's among those attacking her. Appears to be Sugar Man. Sinister Spider-Man takes out Foggy Nelson, who is trying to basically get people to not to take the X-Gene therapy. But Sinister realizes comes to see a fatal flaw. He let when it comes to Xavier, Emma, Exodus, and Hope, well, he allowed too much of their own personalities to be in control. But he eventually goes to his lab. His lab on Muir Island. He relocated his lab to Muir Island, especially with the Moira Kretch, but when he arrives, it's empty, and he's trapped. And that is where the issue ends. Interesting start to things. I figure that there will be some additional Moira shenanigans to get things back to how they were. And the next major plot post after Sins of Sinister is apparently the fall of X. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to our next book, we've got Sabretooth and the Exiles number 3. Where we left off, Orphan Maker had been convinced by Dr. Barrington to remove his armor. But doing so did cause some massive damage at Orchid Station 2. And it seemed he was going to basically go critical mass. But Third Eye came up with the idea, hey, why don't, I got an idea, and he moved everyone to the astral plane. And first I'll explain, no one sees the astral plane in the same manner. But the reason that Third Eye did this, because among those taken was also Orphan Maker, is the idea that if Orphan Maker's mind is not in his body, that will slow down his bodily functions. And so the idea comes that so Madison Jeffries suggests to Nanny, okay, why don't you and I can work together and we can make a new and maybe even improved armor for Orphan Maker. However, they find, apparently, an Orcus station within the astral plane, apparently growing out of a massive creature. Though the Exiles aren't the only ones present. You've also got Barrington's experiment, the creation. And Orcus is opting to liquidate Dr. Barrington. But the various cells full of mutants at Station 2 are opening. And the first mutants to come out, after a moment, one of them realizes that she can use her powers. So they get the rest of them out. Melter talks down Orphan Maker, who's not coping well with being on the astral plane, but Melter's able to calm him down. Mainly in part because, well, Orphan Maker thinks he's the Human Torch. Toad, Sabretooth, and Oya go deeper into the facility to see what's what in there. Sabretooth's harboring a grudge against Toad for what happened during House of X #1. Namely the fact that Toad kind of, left Sabretooth to be captured. Though Toad explains, hey, the whole thing was we were supposed to be quiet. You were loud. But the trio finds some sort of multi-mouth, multi-eyed horror with a person as the center of it. Toad is able to run, but Oya decides to try to figure out to talk to the person. Back on the physical plane, Dr. Barrington discovers that the mutants she was experimenting on have gotten free. And they're not too happy. Also, Barrington is starting to bear somewhat of a resemblance to Darkman, without any of his masks. The new suit is being made for Orphan Maker, but the creation manages to return to the physical realm and helps Barrington escape. There's an Orcus memo that suggests that recommends hiring or bringing on doctors that have had malpractice suits filed against them, as the idea being that without oversight, they achieve insight. You can do anything to people the world ignores, basically. Which is probably where Barrington was found. But, it turns out that the person inside the whatever the horror thing was in the middle of the bit of Station 5, well, it's now dead. But apparently the person claimed that his name is Victor Creed. And that is where the issue ends. Okay, well, that was interesting. I am enjoying this book. I still say I wish they hadn't used the Exiles name, because when it comes to Marvel books called that have the word Exiles in the title, I have a very specific concept in mind, that it's not, Sabretooth-led group of misfits. It's multiversal group of misfit superheroes saving other universes. Moving on, though, to our next book, we've got X-Terminators #5, wrapping up probably one of the best X books in a while. One of the best X-Men miniseries of the last year. Where we left off, Dazzler has the boon of Dracula. The boon she wanted? Dibs. Before before Dracula takes Alex into custody, well, she wants to smack him around a bit, get some payback. And so, and also the various fate were being held by Collector are offered the assistance of Captain Britain and Ascani in returning home. And but the Exterminators are coming with a plan to get rid of, to take care of Alex. They also apparently started a group chat. Well, Jubilee started the group chat. Apparently, Laura, in the data page we see with the group chat, Laura has left the group twice. But Dazzler, basically, Dazzler, turns out that has bought Alex's bar, with a full explanation given that, quoting, as she puts it, it was the weirdest thing. Turns out the previous owner died 50 years ago and registered the lease under a company that doesn't exist. So the West Hollywood City Planning Committee was all too delighted to sell it to her, a longtime resident and local celebrity. The women weren't brought there to hurt Alex. Dazzler brought them for some joyful, destructive catharsis, because this is the ground zero of their recent trauma. But so they're smashing the place up, and in space, Wolverine is keeping the Collector occupied, so he can't basically he can't help Alex. But the Collector takes on a giant form and decides he could collapse the ship around Wolverine if he wanted, and let her die in the vacuum. In kind of doing so, well, some of his other charges are freed, and they make it back to Earth. But Alex gets beaten around, and then Jubilee and Boom Boom teleport in. Boom Boom using a missile launcher to cause some damage to the ship, and Jubilee goes nuclear basically, and the ship's destroyed. Jubilee is magic was brought in as they found something on the Collector's ship, a basket. It apparently had a creature inside in it. But and so, Ileana's got herself a pet. But afterwards, the Exterminators have a little party at Dazzler's new bar, and Wolverine asks what they're doing tomorrow. We end with a letter to Dracula from the Exterminators. Should you ever have need of cleanup services for treasonous vampires again, you know who to contact. And that is where the series ends. And this was quite possibly one of the funnest X-Men series I've read in a while. The back page does state the Exterminators will return, And well, let's just say, fingers crossed. Looking forward to that, to their return. If it's even half as much fun as this was, it'll be great. Moving on to our last book for the moment, we've got X-Treme X-Men #2. Continuing Chris Claremont's continuation of X-Treme X-Men. So Ogun's back in spirit, like literally in spirit. But he's trying to find a new, basically someone else to take over. But so Wolverine and Kate are doing what they can to find her. But there's also brewing anti-mutant sentiment in Chicago. Sage and Bishop are also doing what they can to find Ogun. And basically everyone manages to find him, and apparently he's taking over the body of a firefighter. Wolverine finds him and approaches, and well, right by an anti-mutant protest, and so the guy says, "Oh, basically makes a whole big scene of, oh, I'm this," but so yeah, Wolverine pretty much made things like 10 times worse. But they get a lock on Ogun, and he's taking over the body of a firefighter. But it seems that Ogun's got a host in mind, or got a body in mind. Phoenix, Rachel Summers. But around the time that Bishop and Sage realize this, they're attacked by a modified anti-mutant extremist who manages to take them both down pretty easily. But leaving them unconscious. It makes it clear he's very much a they're part of the group known as Purity, and Purity has their own superheroes, or rather, I would say German sounding name. The group has another German sounding name, which means struggle. That is where the issue ends. I mean, it's okay. It's hard to get invested knowing that this is just kind of, let's just do another few issues to wrap that up. But yeah, I get the feeling that I guess the biggest questions I really have when it comes to the X-Treme X-Men miniseries is anyone going to really consider it canon? Is anyone going to... I mean, it's a fun book, I guess, but... yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for now. Seriously, Sinister looks to be quite the crazy ride. But, yeah. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.